Let's look at Arsenal. You've got Huddersfield in midweek. Will they get into the top 4 at the expense of Tottenham?
I don't think so. I mean, I think I think there is a feeling of well-being at Arsenal that is completely artificial. You know, it generally happens. They go on a run of 3 or 4 results, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, this is brilliant," and then it all falls apart again. It's toxic. I think the victory over Tottenham was a huge thing for them, but they'll get caught out. It's, you know, Ozil had a brilliant game against Tottenham, but why isn't he imposing himself on games every week? And that's what they need. And the bitter reality for Arsenal fans is the 2 biggest players are on the way as soon as they can possibly get out of North London. The only reason Ozil will stay is because no one else will have him.
Well, if you listen to to his apologists, Barcelona and Man United are queuing up, and also Wenger has said this morning that they won't be sold in January, neither of them.
Unless something remarkable happens.
Such as?
Oh, well, who knows? Someone puts in an offer. I mean, classic Wenger, when he says something and leaves you more confused at the end of it. So you go, okay, definitively they won't be sold. No, they won't be sold. Unless something strange happens. Okay, well, I'll buy that.
So it seems that they're really ready for Manchester United on Saturday then, does it, Dave?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, talk about their situation. We're seeing everything's going all right now. They're very strong at home this season. They seem to be going along quite nicely now. But like you said, January's going to be massive for them. And whether he says they're going or not, there's still going to be all the chatter. There's still going to be all the questions asked. You can still see him exploding halfway through January after being asked the question for the 200th time. So it's still all going to be there. And until it's resolved, it'll always be there.
And what will be interesting is how United approach the game. I think it wouldn't surprise me if they set their template out for the next month, because they've got City as well, in approaching this match in an extremely physical manner.
Yeah. And do you think that, you know, we were almost brought up on that rivalry between Mourinho and Wenger, which has eased, probably because Wenger, in his eyes, doesn't present any threat anymore. How do you think they'll approach it? Do managers, David, take games as personally as we in the media tend to think they do?
Yeah, simply because, I mean, with some managers, the only time they see each other is in the dugout. Not all managers go in for a glass of wine after the game. Sometimes they do it, and it's just a show of face, and there's no sort of there's no interaction of a sort of friendliness, you know. So regardless of what people see in front of each other, you know, there's always that's for that 90 minutes. That's when you see the real characters between each other, regardless of what goes on behind the scenes. So I think that there is a dislike there. You can see that, but a lot of it is. I think it's something like Mourinho. It's for themselves really, because he needs that to feed him rather than for anybody else's benefit.
I think we need to remember that Mourinho really crossed the line with Wenger, with the voyeur stuff. You know, it's and Wenger hasn't forgiven him for that. So there will always be an element, a needle in there. And Mourinho might laugh it off and say, "Oh no, it's no big deal." And he might have moved on to new enemies, but it sits and festers with Wenger.
With Mourinho, he's basically, you know, performing to type this week. He's defending Lukaku, so he's got a fantastic mentality. Shame his goals have dried up. That surprise you?
No, it surprised me a little bit that his goals have dried up. But then when you see the way United have played with such negativity and timidity in games that they should be winning, then I'm not surprised. And it comes down to me, to Mourinho's fault rather than Lukaku's. Although at times his body language, and one of the criticism of Everton is that he didn't get involved unless he was scoring, and he's that sort of player. But, you know, Mourinho's got to get the ball forward more. I mean, Pogba's back and that'll make a difference to them. But it's classic Mourinho. He always, unless there's an air of chaos, and unless he's either fighting on behalf of someone or with someone, he's kind of bored.
One matter. This might be quite close to your heart, David. He has said that he would like to play on at Manchester United until he's 40. Is that possible these days?
Physically, it is, yeah, it is. But I think once you start getting to mid-30s, you do often find that you become a little bit more sensible, really. You know, the fact that when some players, as they come into the sort of late 20s, early 30s, it's because you're not chasing those sort of lost cases down. You're not chasing balls down. You're kind of conserving yourself, and you play within yourself a little bit more. You think you're being cleverer, when really it's that little bit, that extra 5% that keeps you at the top and keeps you performing to that level all the time. And I think with someone like Juan Mata, yeah, it might be because his game hasn't been about that. It is a bit more cerebral, where he's looking for.
It's never been about pace, has it?
Well, exactly, yeah. And so more than anything, I mean, we've mentioned David Moyes a couple of times about his motivation to be a manager and losing that a little bit. That's the same with players. So physically now, players are in better shape and better equipped to keep going.
Well, the only thing that surprises me is that Mata's still at United under Mourinho, because he's not a sort of player. He doesn't do the track and back, he doesn't do the covering, and too many of his balls go sideways. You know, it's Mourinho likes to play that quick game, get the ball forward quick. Mata, one touch, two touch, goes sideways. All very nice, but not a Mourinho player.
But Danny Rose is a Mourinho player.
Oh, without a doubt. And there's a couple of people at Tottenham who are Mourinho players. You know, Eric Dyer as well. He fancied him, and I think he's at the first opportunity, he'd take both.
Yeah. Do you expect any of that to happen, though? Yeah, and let's also look at the other side of it. Luke Shaw. You've been around players who've been out of the team and basically been put on the bomb squad. Yeah. He's in that position. Do you just have to get out?
I think so. I think, you know, it goes on so long that you, unless there's something that we're not seeing that Mourinho sees. Now, there's one thing in situations like this, you hesitate to criticise because we don't see them in training every day, you know. And sometimes you look at someone like Luke Shaw and you think, well, he doesn't look in the best of form, sort of fitness-wise, in his body shape. He doesn't look like he's in peak physical condition. So so then when it comes to the criticisms and being left out the side, you probably think, well, yeah, that's probably why. But at the same time, you've got to question his mentality as well. He's had these injuries. That's not going to help. And if you're not getting sort of into your stride and getting games under your belt, then, you know, it's sort of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and you never get any rhythm going. But you do have to question him, and I think he's probably right. Having said that, Manchester United is it's a hard, difficult club to walk away from. I know a lot of players who went there and they've settled for being the bench because it's Manchester United.
It's the wrong club for him to go to. When he was at Southampton, they really give him care and attention. For example, the monitor of social media, if he tweeted or something or went on Facebook, after midnight he'd be hauled into the office. They watched what he ate. And it wasn't that he was a troubled kid or disruptive. It's just, you know, he didn't realise he needed his body to become a top footballer. So, you know, they did things like banned him from using sort of half a bottle of tomato sauce on his meals and things like that. So they really nursed him along. And then he goes to Man United. And Man United's a big club, you know, and there's bigger players than he's going to be. And he kind of got lost in the mix. No one paid any care and attention to him. And he wasn't ready to pay the care and attention to himself. And you wonder whether he'll ever come through it at this stage.
It's funny you're saying about Danny Rose, whether he's a Manchester United player at all. But the moment he spoke out and did the interview, expressing how unhappy he was, I think that's the moment for me he stopped being a Spurs player, because I think in the environment it's the only word I can use to describe it is, I don't like it, but it's a project. They've got a project there. They've got a way of doing things, and if one person steps out of line like that, it sends everything out of harmony. And I think Pochettino knows that as well. And once that happens, I think he's sort of like a bit of an outsider. Yeah,
there's no bigger project, Tony, than Pep Guardiola's project at Manchester City. You know, a lot of talk about, are they going to be the best ever, which we might be able to go on to. Just want to concentrate on one individual. I know you've written about him, Raheem Sterling. He seems to be almost a prototypical pet project for Pep.
Oh, without a doubt. And he's it's worked quite well because Sterling's willing to learn. He's always been willing to learn. You know, all through his development, he's reached plateaus where you think, oh, can he move on to the next step? And he's found a way of doing it. You know, he's added a little move to his game. You know, he's realised that you can't just blow past people. So he's, you know, sort of, and what Guardiola's done is worked with him on the training grounds and to get his body shape into a better position, so that when the ball comes to him, instead of sort of hitting them with his back.
I looked at that clip and I thought that was just basics.
It is basics. But, you know, a lot of players, and you've actually played, so tell me if I'm wrong, a lot of players trust the talent and don't think. They just go, it is just basics. But the real top-class players do it naturally or think about it. But lots of them just take to the pitch and, you know, and they're really good at this. You know, it's brilliant. So the thing is, what they do at City, they sort of look at your stats after every game and give them chin. You see the areas where you're successful or not, and Sterling's paid a lot of attention to that as well, and he's worked on the areas where he's not at his sort of peak, and so this urge to develop. I mean, a lot of players would take that sort of stuff and yeah, fine, but Sterling does it, and Guardiola loves that about him.
I think players with extreme pace are like gold, and what I found with a lot of players who are basically sprinters who play football, it's hard work going the other way. When you're doing those runs that hurt teams and going in behind, it's hard work if you're doing a lot of them in the game. Now, so what you often find is a lot of them come short of feet because that's an easier game to play. So they come, they get the ball in, they play it back, and then they trot off somewhere else because they know that if they keep going all the time, like I said, like what Guardiola worked on, popping the ball off and then going in behind, you mightn't get it all the time. You might get it once or twice every 10 times, but it's those one or two times that are going to hurt teams. But it's hard work, and when you think of sprinters, because of the nature of their game, you do a lot of those runs and you tire easily. So it's just been having the willingness to do that.
Well, there's an extra component with City as well in the sprints, because what Guardiola wants is front players to close down the opposition defenders, and they have to do a lot of sprinting there as well. And that, if they can win the ball high up, it allows that defence to play a very, very high line, squeeze the play into the area where City won it, and give the opposition less chance to get behind the defence. But that requires an awful lot of work, and in particular, Sterling, Sané and Jesus are very, very good at that. And that's another thing that Guardiola's worked with them on the training grounds. There are other players in the squad. Aguero, who is the best goal scorer in the league, who perhaps doesn't quite believe in chasing down people as much as the others, and there's a little bit of a cloud over him at City, but because of that, I mean, I just put him on the pitch to score.
Yeah. Collectively, how good can City be? If you look at the stats at the moment, they're 4 points better off than Arsenal's Invincibles at this stage of the season. They're 5 points better off than the Chelsea team, which had that record 95-point season. Are they going to go through unbeaten? But how good can they be?
Of course they can do. You know, especially to continue the way they're playing now. They're dealing with some injuries further forward. If they lose players further forward at the pitch, they have that many options. It's not going to be a massive blow to them. I think it was a great test for them on Sunday against Huddersfield. As boring as some people might think it is, the way the Huddersfield set up, defending basically 10 yards from their own halfway line. It might seem like it was only a matter of time, but but for the penalty decision, they might have been able to hold on to it. But it was a brilliant test for them, even though it was like a training session, overload training session. But what it did, it proved to me that they're not just a clever passing side. They're not just relying on Kevin De Bruyne to play these passes in behind teams and use the space in behind them. What they've got absolutely brilliant ball carriers, the likes of David Silva, who can take a player out of the game with one movement while he's carrying the ball. Sané as well, and it gives them an overload and numerical advantage in the important parts of the pitch.
In the next month, they've got within 6 days they've got United and then Tottenham, and that'll be the big test for them. I still think that there is for all the brilliance, there is an area in the centre of the field where often there's only Fernandinho in the middle. If you can get the ball there, then you've got a chance to go forward and get behind that defence. And the other thing is, why do people persist in trying to play the ball out from the back against City when they squeeze you so well? If ever there was a case for the keeper to punt it long, compete for the first ball, win the second ball, get into that defence, it's against City. So I don't think they'll go through this season unbeaten. But they're a good side. I think they'll win the league. They will go fairly deep into the Champions League, but they'll meet people who are more sophisticated and have a better structure across the field.
What they've got now, though, they've got a fear. Everyone comes into them and fears them, and that left them. It started last season. People had a fear about Pep's side. They didn't know sort of how he was going to do in English football, but they feared him. And then when they had the incident with Bravo, when he came into the side, made a mistake, they sort of think we can get at him here. They've got a bit of a weakness. They haven't seen that this season. There's no weakness, so people are still fearful going past that 10-game point in the season. And I think that's what they've got against people. But look at Pep Guardiola, his reaction after that game. He will not celebrate a result as much as he did all season because you could see how much he knew they had to work for it.
Yeah. Well, only team to take points off City this season, Everton. Go figure.
It's a quick turnaround in the Premier League, and we've already got action coming up this weekend. Gab Marcotti is here with me. I don't think I've done a Premier League predictor with you, Gab, so you're my challenger this week. Let's start off with Chelsea-Newcastle.
All right, I think there's a little bit of a talent gap here, and even though Antonio Conte got himself in trouble, for me at Stamford Bridge, it's another 3 points.
I agree with you on that one. Brighton against Liverpool. Liverpool away in this one. We know how Brighton can get spirited at home, but will it be enough?
And then my man Glenn Murray, the everyman. Again, I think Liverpool away from home, especially once you start with Mo Salah on fire, I got to go with Liverpool again.
Oh, you chose for me.
I won't.
But I'm going to choose for you as well, because I chose Liverpool too.
Oh, there you go. I was reading your mind.
There you go. Everton. Ooh, a resurgent Everton. Who are they? Wayne Rooney scoring hat tricks now. They're up against Huddersfield. How do you see this one going?
I see this going as a draw, frankly.
Really?
Well, first of all,
no Big Sam reaction.
No Big Sam bounce. The way things have been going for Everton, I think drawing is already a Big Sam bounce.
Well, after they got all those goals the other day, I think I'm going to go with Everton on this one, Gab. I think I'm expecting a little more of a reaction with Big Sam there. Leicester City against Burnley.
The other day on the show, I brought up Burnley, and everybody laughed at me. And look, now they're ahead of Bournemouth now. Sorry, they're ahead of Spurs now after their win at Bournemouth. So I'm going to go again with the draw here. I think Caldwell might even settle for a draw, given the way things are going. Two teams tough to break down. They might share the spoils. I'm
going to agree with you on this one. I'm going to sit on the fence and go for a draw. Stoke City against Swansea.
Everything says Stoke. Swansea, I don't think they even managed a shot on target in midweek. However, I'm going to say draw here because I think there's more to come from Swansea, and Tammy Abraham will be back.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have more of a fence sitter than Shaka Hislop. I'm going to go with Stoke getting the result in this one now. Well, let's move on. Watford against Spurs. Spurs need something to cheer about these days. Who'd have thought I'd be saying that the way they started? Who's going to win?
It's a tricky one because I'm such a Marco Silva fan.
Me too.
And obviously it's Pochettino and whatnot. I think Spurs have played better than their results in this rather poor run. So, but then again, it's Watford and Richarlison. So I'm going to go for the draw here.
Oh my goodness, another draw. This might be a record. You know what? Sorry, Spurs fans. I'm going to go for a Watford win in this one just for the upset. If we can even really call it an upset, the way Spurs have been going recently. West Brom, they've got a new man there against Crystal Palace. A man that knows Crystal Palace quite well too. Who's going to get it?
Yeah, I struggle with this, but I have an issue with Pards, so every day of the week.
Every day of the week. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to go with Pards on this one, and we're going to go with West Brom. Arsenal, Manchester United. Now we're talking about the juicy fixture this weekend. Do the Gunners get it?
I don't think so.
Ooh, they've been high-flying.
I all right, logic would say your man goes in, sets up the way he likes to set up, and holds them to a draw. I think United could actually nick this. I mean, much as I like Arsenal and their resurgence, I thought they played really well against Spurs. I think this is a different proposition. So I'm going to go on a limb here and predict United to win on the road.
I'm going to go for a draw on this one, just because I really don't know. I don't know what to expect. I mean, no Lacazette, though, so I'm going to go for a draw. Bournemouth, Southampton.
Bournemouth, they got some issues now. They've got some real issues. Pellegrino's been, people are saying, oh, look, he's just boring, like Puel, whatever. But I think there's more to Saints than that. But then again, Bournemouth at home, they normally bounce back when they need to, or they have done. So I'm going to go Bournemouth.
Southampton played well against Manchester City, I guess we can say. They hung on to that very last minute, but it is City after all. I want to go for a draw on this one, but we have tons of draws, and I don't really care, so I'm going to go for a draw. Manchester City, West Ham. Do I even need to bat an eyelash for this one?
You seem very confident. You don't have much faith in Moisey. I wonder why.
Sorry. Or West Ham.
Moisey has a result in him, but it's not going to be here. I'm sorry.
Definitely not going to be against Manchester City. Thanks so much to Gab Marcotti. We'll continue tracking all of these fixtures and the results from all the Premier League action this weekend here at ESPN FC.